Brian Scalabrine, Celtics analyst and co-host of the Starting Lineup on Sirius XM NBA Radio, won a title with the '08 Boston Celtics. Help me understand when a player is hurt. I don't know if he's injured, but he's hurt, Tyrese Halliburton, and he hasn't played well, and you know you're going to play at Game 6 back in Indiana. Why have Tyrese Halliburton go out there and play the second half last night?
Yeah, I think that's up in the air, hurt or injured, right? If a guy is hurt and it's the NBA Finals, you can't punt on a game, so you just got to roll with it. I mean, they got it within 2. There could have been a few things that could have happened. I know he wasn't playing well, but his impact was still there. Even when you look at the play that Nembhard turned the ball over, they were still face guarding Tyrese Halliburton 30, 45 feet from the basket. So he was impacting the game. He was on a run. He's had those heroics throughout the playoffs. You got to roll the dice on that.
Yeah, I know I get another game. I want him to be really good in Game 6. I just don't want him to be kind of average the way he was last night. And the bench was unbelievable. Like, I would have stayed with that. And look, I'm sure Rick has far better intel than any of us of how Tyrese was really feeling. He couldn't even get shots off, though, Brian.
Yeah, he couldn't get by people. But, Dan, you saw what he has done throughout the playoffs. If you're banking on a guy to help you, if it's a close game, that's what you're banking on. And by the way, like, it wasn't him. Like, the Nembhard turnovers, that little sequence right there, that was it. And they had it. I mean, they did a great job of cutting that back. TJ McConnell did a great job of bringing the energy. But, I just think with a guy like Halliburton, you never know. Listen, Michael Jordan during the flu game, he was out there playing and, he kind of figured it out as he went. I'm not comparing the two, but it's just one of those things like you never know. And I don't think you can ever just say like, well, live to fight another day, especially when TJ McConnell and that group, that bench group got him back into the game. I would have done the same thing with Halliburton.
Seems like OKC is going against the analytics because they're not about shooting threes.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing to basketball. They may ruin basketball as we know it because they're not firing up threes.
Or they could be saving basketball. And, I mean, they won a game when they made 3 3-pointers. It's a copycat league. I think the pendulum kind of swung too far, everyone trying to copy the Boston Celtics. It would be really interesting to see if there's a few teams out there. You've noticed that the Orlando Magic just acquired Desmond Bane, and they're not a great 3-point shooting team, but they are a great rim attack team, and they're a great defensive team. So, maybe we should look at that team a little bit differently now that teams are doing a much better job of guarding the 3 and taking the 3 away.
You're part of the Celtics broadcast team. What kind of changes? Any big changes in the offseason for Boston?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those moments like when Tatum went down with the injury, I think their path would have looked very different this year than now that, like, we don't know if he's going to miss the entire year, but the collective bargaining agreement, the second apron, the punitive repeater tax, like they just don't make it feasible to keep these teams together anymore. So I don't know who's the guy. I don't know if it's Holiday or Porzingis or both or Brown. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that the Celtics are going to make a conscious effort to get underneath that tax, and we'll see what they end up doing after that. But it kind of gave him a natural reset with Tatum getting hurt.
Is Kevin Durant still that attractive?
Yeah, and it's hard when you have – so there's a few things, right? So they're in the second apron. You can't aggregate salaries unless a team has space. So you have to take a young team with cap space, and yet if they have cap space, they usually have like a few good players. Yet Phoenix wants those good players. So, like, when you add it all up, and if Kevin Durant was 30, it'd be very different. But when you add it all up, it's going to be a weird trade. And the Phoenix Suns are not going to get the value they need. And the teams are going to say, we're fine. We don't need Kevin Durant. You better take what we give out there. It's not anything we've ever experienced before. Remember those trades? 9 players for 2? Like, those things can't happen anymore with the way the rules are. So complicated, yes. Talk to general managers or scouts or all these people that know the cap. Like, there's not as many options out there for Kevin Durant where he could pick and choose where he wants to go. And then Phoenix doesn't have to send him to the places he wants to go. So I think this trade is very, very complicated.
And it feels like nobody cares about draft picks anymore.
They do.
If you're in the lottery, you care. After that.
All right. So do you feel, Dan, that the East is wide open? With Indiana making this run, wouldn't you say
yes?
Okay, no one picked Indiana to win a championship. I mean, maybe one person out of 100, right? So I just think that puts a lot of pressure on these other organizations. And what do you want? The Desmond Bain deal is a pick this year, a pick next year, and two players that probably can't help you win a championship. Let's just throw that out there. Caldwell Pope, you would think yes, but he missed shots, so let's just say no. Well, that can end up being $40 million of salary in the next 2 years, and you're not sure that those guys are going to help you get over the hump. Now, you could send all that, send a couple more assets, and you're getting a guy like Desmond Bain where you feel like you can. So I think that teams, because of Tatum's injury, because of what Indiana did, maybe the fact that you don't need all this three-point shooting, I think teams, think about Neesmith and Nembhard, second-round pick and a guy the Celtics traded, are starting in the NBA Finals, and they have a chance to win a championship. I think it fast-forwards a lot of timelines out there.
Yeah, I agree the East is open. I don't know if I could say the Knicks are, going back to the Eastern Conference Finals. If the Celtics were healthy, then they don't get there. Cavaliers, it feels like, all things fell into place for the Knicks. I still believe, though, Bri, that the Knicks were going to fire Tom Thibodeau before the playoffs started. They were going to fire him. Then all of a sudden you have success, which, the optics were bad. Oh, my God, he got you to the Eastern Conference Finals. I just think he won his way into good favor with the fans of the reaction, but management wasn't going to keep him. And then they don't have a successor. That's what's surprising right now.
Yeah, the whole thing is strange. And the goalpost was classically moved here. You got to beat Detroit or you're going to get fired. Oh, you can't get blown out by the Celtics or you're going to get fired. Then you beat the Celtics and somehow all of a sudden, we look at the Pacers, I think we all can agree, no one has analyzed that team correctly. They're really good. They guard, they move it. Tyrese Halliburton's good. And when they lost to the Pacers, somehow the management spun it like the Pacers weren't a good basketball team. So I just I think you're right. They had it in their mind and they were just looking for a reason to do it.
Brian Scalabrine, Celtics analyst for NBC Sports Boston, co-host of the Starting Lineup on Sirius XM NBA Radio. Give me your non-white guy comp for Cooper Flagg.
Oh, I don't do the white guy thing. I think it's LeBron James, but he's without having to be 260 pounds and like a freight train. Cooper Flagg is a supercomputer. Dan, he's a supercomputer. Everything you tell him, within 24 hours, he's figured it out. The next time you tell him something else, I was working him out in Maine on day 2. I pretty much came to him and his parents and said, listen, I can't help you anymore. You need to reach out.
Explain how this happened.
So his trainer and me are really close friends. When Cooper was not even a high school student yet, he was a freshman, but he hasn't played a high school game. Cooper came down to play in my pickup game down here in Boston. It's about a 3-hour drive, maybe 4-hour drive. We came down and his trainer wanted me to get my eyes on Cooper. And he told me, I got a 13-year-old that can play against UMaine kids and he could hold his own. And Dan, I don't believe that for 1 second. It's another over exaggeration of a kid. But after seeing him, I totally believe it. And he said it would always be the same thing. He'd kind of take 15, 20 minutes to figure it out. And then he's right there neck and neck with 23-year-olds, 22-year-olds when he's 13 years old, right? I saw it for myself. It was the same thing when he came down and played with us. And from then on, I kind of made some phone calls like John Shire and USA Basketball to no, I don't think you guys understand. This guy is I've never seen anything like that before. And over time, I've been close to him and worked him out and stuff like that. And they got to a point where I just couldn't help him anymore. He was just too good. He just picked things up. Workouts are supposed to be challenging and you're supposed to push guys to do something better than they normally can. And he just kept mastering every single thing. And you talk around the NBA and you talk about guys, they're always saying LeBron is like that. LeBron can act like he's not paying attention and shoot around. And he can call every action, every play and what they're trying to get and how they got this on with 4:36 to go at this much in the fourth quarter. So watch out for it. And he's kind of like not even engaged. So I'm not saying Cooper's like not engaged, but I'm just saying I've never met, and I've been around a lot of players. I've been around Hall of Fame players. I've never met someone that just can pick up things at such a high rate. And I think that's when people talk about NBA players, they wonder how this guy make it. And this guy's 6'11" and he's long and he's athletic, but he doesn't make it. A lot of it has to do with their computer, their processor. And he just processes on a rate that I've never seen before. So I'm only assuming that it's like LeBron James.
What's the best performance you ever witnessed in person?
Probably LeBron in Game 6 against the Celtics when they were down 3-2 in Miami, and he just came in and like 45, 13, and 9, and he didn't even break a sweat. It was probably that. I saw Paul Pierce when I was playing with the Nets. He had a subpar first half, and he dropped 48 in the second half in overtime, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what I was watching, and I didn't think like Wilt Chamberlain could score 100 points in a game. I thought that's crazy. Then I watched Pierce score in the second half 48 in overtime. So that was up there. And then I seen that Vince Carter 8-minute flurry of like 25 points or something like that in the first quarter, and I was on his team at that time. Like otherworldly performances.
It's weird when I watch Paul Pierce because I don't know if he did anything really well other than score. Like he's just meant to be a scorer. And I watch SGA, and now SGA can get to the hoop and mid-range jumper, but there's no highlights there. They're just certain guys who are scorers who do it in a methodical way that you know what's happening. It's not I'm going above, I'm the rim or any, crossing you over crazy. And Pierce and SGA kind of remind me of each other.
That's funny that you bring that up because he reminds me a lot of Jalen Williams, like the guy who just scored 40 last night. I'm like, it's Jalen Williams, like a more athletic Paul Pierce. But Dan, it comes down to this, and SGA is in this category, and there's a few guys that are in this category. It's the ability to navigate space with people on your body. Like typically when you are, like you are playing defense and you have a guy on your body and you can dictate them, right? That's what we do for a living. Like that's how we guard. But Paul was never affected by that. No matter, he like almost looks and seeks out contact and then counters contact. And that's what makes those guys, like you said, they're not, when you're on a guy's body, it's hard to elevate way above the rim. Like it happens with separation. Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever, because he separates. And because when he separates, he can elevate. Well, those guys don't separate, but they stay connected, but they can navigate their space while connected. That's what makes those guys special, but also doesn't create super highlights.
Who's the best scorer? Who was the worst defender?
The best scorer who was the worst defender? I mean, it's got to be some guy that doesn't play.
Well, no,
best
you can have, like, Barkley wasn't a good defender or Larry Bird wasn't a good defender.
No, it's going to be based off of size. Like
Iverson didn't, really play defense.
When I played against Iverson,
he had steals.
Yeah, you can't throw the ball anywhere near his vicinity. You know what? Like, I'll tell you a guy that I covered. And this, I don't want to be disrespectful to Isaiah Thomas, but he was a sick scorer. And it's not like he didn't try. He did try, but he's like 5'9", right? I think it's more about that. Like people talk about James Harden. James Harden's big as hell, and he has quick hands. So you could say he doesn't defend or anything like that, but he's long, he's big. His size comes into play. Most of the time in the NBA, when a guy can't defend, it's hard to even pick up. It's the cumulative effect of 100 possessions of a guy being short with short arms. That becomes an issue. But those big, strong guys, like Barkley was a defensive rebounder. You can give him credit for that, right? There's a lot that goes into it, but being an undersized guard is really challenging.
Yeah, I brought that up. Kendrick Perkins brought up that Joker wasn't a good defender, and therefore he shouldn't be the MVP, whenever that was a couple of years ago. And I said, That's silly, because it's called a defensive rebound.
Yeah.
And he's a really good rebounder.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Joel Embiid should win because apparently he played more defense, I guess, than Joker. I just find we pick and choose on who plays defense and who doesn't. Or we're going to call them out because they don't play defense. Steph Curry doesn't play defense. I mean, he plays the passing lanes.
Yeah, I mean he's not awful. He's in world class shape and he's strong as hell. So I think the limitations for these guys are going to be based off the size, like Jalen Brunson in the playoffs.
Now, he's not a good defender.
but it's just based off of size. Like it just adds up over time. Every pass is not as contested. Every rebound, everything adds up when you are dealing with guys who are small. But it's also credit to those guys how remarkable they could be as players.
Okay, wait a minute. How about Karl Anthony Towns? He can't play defense.
I mean, I don't know. Go watch the Denver series last year. He was pretty good.
I saw him this year.
I know, but getting him dancing in a pick and roll with Tyrese Halliburton.
I know you got to be careful because you.
No, I
don't
have to be careful. I'm saying like it's one of these things. Like Rudy Gobert last year. Here's a great example of that. Rudy Gobert and Luka Doncic. Everyone is killing Gobert on that. Gobert is one of the best defensive players of our generation, impact wise. But he gets isolated 2 times on Luka, and they think he's terrible. Like that's a small snapshot of what a guy does. His size is a factor. So it's like
Luka doesn't play good defense.
No, Luka doesn't play. For his size, he doesn't play good defense. And you know what? Actually, we just you know what, Dan? You just solved the equation. He's probably the best scorer who doesn't guard.
There you go. We eventually got around to it. All right. Hopefully I didn't get you in trouble.
I probably will be. Every time I'm on your show, I get in trouble.
That's all right. Thank you, Brian.
All right. See you, Dan.
That's Brian Scalabrine, Celtics analyst and co-host of the starting lineup on Sirius XM NBA Radio. Won a title with the '08 Celtics. I was going to work him. I was going to eventually get that answer out of him. We'll take a break. Last call for phone calls after this.